Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has accused Labor Deputy Richard Marles of naivety over comments he made about China. During his visit to the US last week, Scott Morrison argued China should no longer be regarded as a developing country, calling on Beijing to face tougher trade obligations. Yesterday, Richard Marles, who has just returned from a trip to China, argued the government's approach has led to a breakdown between the two nations and said the relationship was terrible. Today, the Prime Minister doubled down, defending his approach to the China relationship and accusing Labor now of immaturity.
The state of the relationship as it exists between Australia and China right now is terrible.
What makes you say that? What did you hear?
I think there is a sense in which we are falling down their ladder of relevance. China is not seeing us in the serious way in which it has seen us in the past.
I think Richard Marles and Labor are showing a real lack of maturity on this issue and a naivety when it comes to managing our international relationships. I mean, Australia, under our government, has been, I think, negotiating a very careful course. But I would urge those in Labor to be less confused, less naive, and show a bit more maturity on this question, and not seek to talk down Australia's relationships, particularly when we're overseas.
Last hour, he spoke to Labor Senator KITCHING, who defended her colleague's comments, pointing out Richard Marles has always been staunchly as well one for the US-Australia alliance.
Richard was discussing, what is a very complex situation we have in our region. But of course, he did emphasise in his speech in Beijing the importance of the relationship we have with the United States of America. And of course, everyone is keeping in mind that, our trading relationship with China is very strong, but our economic and investment relationship with the US is very large.
Now, in our discussion with the Senator, we also spoke about hacks. That is the current situation if a state actor is found to have hacked Australia, perhaps a government agency, for example, the parliamentary system hacks that we heard about as well. She says the government should be open to a process whereby Australia does actually name the country responsible, as long as there is some certainty about which country was responsible.
I do think there should be a process that's undertaken, and then we will see going forward whether there is a certainty around the attribution, whether that can be a very high level of certainty. Because
and so would you be one pushing for
obviously
sure.
difficult.
Well, it might come with a disclaimer, I guess, on percentages or whatever it might be. Would you be someone in favour of starting to name and shame, for want of a better word?
Well, I do think that sometimes when you're in any geopolitical relationship or relationships, I think honesty is quite good.